Organ shortage, a global crisis. The global organ shortage is not only a medical problem, but also a humanitarian crisis, affecting millions of families and individuals. Organs are a precious medical resource, but unlike drugs or medical devices that can be mass-produced, organs can only be obtained from humans. This makes the supply limited and dependent on the generosity of those willing to donate, or deaths that may allow the use of organs. The current state of organ shortages in the world. Global statistics show that the organ shortage is getting worse. In the United States, there are more than 100,000 people waiting for organ transplants, but only about 39,000 transplants are performed each year, leaving tens of thousands of people waiting, with an increasing risk of death. In fact, around 17 people die every day simply because they cannot get an organ in time. These figures are a heartbreaking reminder of the urgent need to address the crisis. In other developed countries such as the UK, Canada, and Australia, the waiting list for organ transplants is also much longer than the number of organs available. The situation is not limited to wealthy countries, but is even worse in developing countries, where weak health systems and lack of resources make it even more difficult to manage organ donations. While the number of patients requiring transplants continues to rise due to chronic diseases such as diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease. Causes of organ shortages. One of the main causes of organ shortages is the disparity between the number of people who need organs and the number of people willing to donate. Although many countries have launched public awareness campaigns on organ donation, the rate of people agreeing to donate is still not high enough to meet the demand. In addition, the lack of effective legal mechanisms or organizational systems to encourage donation also contributes to the problem. In addition, cultural, religious, and social barriers also greatly influence the decision to donate organs. In many countries, organ donation is still considered a violation of spiritual values or traditional customs. For example, some religions believe that the body must be kept intact after death, making organ donation after death a taboo. Finally, the lack of investment in research and development of alternatives, such as the production of artificial organs or the use of animal organs, further makes the organ shortage a long-term crisis with no clear solution in sight. The human and social impact of organ shortages. Organ shortages not only cause personal pain for patients waiting for transplants, but also have serious social consequences. For patients, not being able to receive a suitable organ in a timely manner means facing serious health problems, loss of work capacity, and in many cases, death. For patients' families, the financial and emotional burden of caring for a loved one in need of an organ transplant is enormous. The long-term costs of treatment, combined with the uncertainty of whether an organ will be available, drive many families into debt and despair. At the societal level, organ shortages create a dangerous and unregulated black market that not only causes numerous human rights violations, but also poses many medical risks. Black market participants, both buyers and sellers, are often not protected by legal regulations or medical safety standards. As a result, many transplants fail or cause serious complications, even death. Excerpt from the story. A small room with pale gray walls, soft light through the thin curtains creating a quiet space. On the old wooden table, a cup of coffee steamed with a light aroma, mixed with the smell of papers and ink. Ada and Desmond sat across from each other, their eyes filled with unspoken feelings. Desmond, leaning towards Ada, voice hoarse but determined. Sister Ada, you are an ethics researcher, so you must understand better than anyone. Why, in such a progressive world, do we still let people who need organs die because there are no donors? My mother doesn't have much time left. If we could pay someone willing to sell a kidney, what's wrong with that? Ada gently puts down the pen, looks straight at Desmond. Desmond, I'm sorry about your situation, but this is not just a problem between you, your mother, and the potential kidney donor. It involves the whole society. If we legalize organ trading, do you think poor people will be forced to sell a part of their body to escape poverty? It is not just a choice anymore, but a pressure. Desmond pounds the table lightly, voice full of indignation. But do you know how much pain my mother has suffered? She has to undergo dialysis every day. Her body is getting weaker and weaker. You talk about pressure, But the biggest pressure right now is the pressure of death that is threatening her. We need a practical solution, not beautiful theories. Ada sits up straight, touches her coffee cup as if to reassure herself, I understand that feeling, Desmond. But think further. When the human body becomes a commodity, we will destroy the most basic values of human dignity. We may be inadvertently turning the poor into living organ reserves. And that is something that is morally unacceptable. Desmond, looking directly at Ada, eyes piercing, you talk about dignity. But what dignity is there for someone who is dying because they can't get a kidney transplant? What dignity is there for families who have to watch their loved ones wither away? Do you think I want my mother to be a statistic in your ethics reports? Ada voice lowers. Eyes soften. Desmond, I'm not saying the current system is fair. It's clearly not fair. But we can't simply replace one injustice with another. We need a different approach. Perhaps creating programs that encourage donation through incentives like free health insurance or long-term care benefits. That would protect donors without commercializing the human body. Desmond, bitter laugh. Encouragement? Do you really think that altruism is strong enough to save the lives of millions of people waiting for organs? My mother once said that if she could sell a kidney to give me a better life, she would do it without a second thought. I believe many people out there would do the same. They don't need altruism, they need opportunity. Ada sighs, puts her hands on the table. I understand that, Desmond. But think about the long-term consequences. If organ selling is legalized, the poorest in society will suffer the most. Once money is involved, the line between voluntary and coercive becomes very thin. We must protect not only the recipients, but also the donors. Desmond, voice trembling, eyes red. So what are you going to do? Continue to sit here and talk about ethics while my mother and thousands of others die for lack of organs? We don't have time to wait for the reforms you speak of. My mother needs a kidney now, not in some ideal future. Ada, silence for a moment, looking into her coffee, then looking up. Desmond, I don't have a perfect answer for you. But I believe that if we make decisions based solely on desperation, we can create even bigger problems in the future. The current system needs to change, but it has to be changed responsibly. Desmond nods slightly, but her eyes are still full of disappointment. I don't expect a perfect answer, Ada. I just want my mother to live through this year. And if that means breaking every rule, I will. Because to me, my mother is worth more than any theory. Ada is silent, her eyes sad as she looks at Desmond. The two of them sat in silence for a few minutes, the only sound being the steady ticking of the wall clock. The afternoon sunlight filtered through the curtains, casting a reddish-orange glow over the table and the notes. Outside, life went on. But in this small room, time seemed to stand still, emphasizing the urgency and profound contradiction of their conversation.